Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. In this video, we'll be taking a look at Cubasis 3 and my opinion after 1 week of use. What is the verdict? Who is this for? That's what we're going to cover. But if it's your first time here, who am I? What is this? Well, this is Studio Live today. My name is Pete, and this is my channel where I try to help you create, record, and release your best music. And we do that through tips and tricks and tutorial videos and live videos just like this one. If that's your kind of bag, consider subscribing. So what are we going through today? Well, the format's going to be, I'm going to give you, first of all, 10 things that I've been enjoying about using Cubasis. We're then going to cover 10 things I've been missing about GarageBand, because if you know me and you know the channel, you know that GarageBand is kind of my spirit animal when it comes to producing music on the iPad or the iPhone. So we'll be covering that. Then who should actually use Cubasis? Should you consider buying it, upgrading to it? That's what we'll cover in part 3, and then we'll open it up for a little bit of Q&A. So if you've got questions, I may not have answers, but I'll definitely try to answer any questions that you have, and we'll open it for some free chat. So that's our 4 parts of the show, and we'll be getting into it in just a moment. Just say g'day to the folks who are here live. If you do have questions and you're here live, please throw those in the chat here. Hello, we've got Jade Stars here, 1000 watts, Stu Cashel, Tom Rochelle, Stu Cash, Tom Rochelle, Caleb's here. Hello to you. BTS is here. Jack Smith, hello to you folks. Great to have you here on board the Jam Space. Doctor's Orders, plenty of folks here. Roo from Cornwall, hello to you. I like that name, Roo. So we will jump in and get started with the show because we got a lot to cover. Now, in my usual haste to get started here, I haven't got my screen mirroring set up here, so you'll have to bear with me for just one moment while we get things set up. Oh, you can hear that playing back. You can hear things playing back there. So we're going to turn everything on here and we're going to get ourselves ready to go. And yeah, we'll be all good in just about 30 seconds. So we'll bring up the reflector here. While I do this, I've got a question for you. If you've been following along, if you've been watching the series, my question before we get started is, what has been your favorite feature that you've seen me demonstrate in Cubasis 3? Or maybe you're already a Cubasis 3 user and you can tell us what is your favorite feature of Cubasis already. If you'd like to answer that and you're here live, throw it down in the chat or drop a comment if you're watching on the replay, and we will circle back to that after the fact. We're nearly there. Don't worry, we're getting there. So we have our screen. We are going to be able to share it here. We'll hit the big button here to say share my screen, and then we'll be ready to go and rock and roll. I will, if you're watching on the replay, drop some timestamps in the description as well, so you'll be able to jump around to the different sections. But here is Cubasis in all of its glory. This is what we've been looking at for the last week. Let's hit play, make sure everything's working. When you open, it sort of is. We just need to unplug and plug back in to make sure that we're going to get the audio through the mixer and not through AirPlay, because AirPlay audio, not super good. So that should be good now. Up to the sky. There we go. There is our Cubasis ready to rock and roll. Now, let's cover the basics, shall we? In case you've missed the rest of the series, I do recommend going back and checking it out. It is listed, linked down in the description if you have missed the series and you want to catch up. But Cubasis 3 is a digital audio workstation. It's made by Steinberg, and a big thank you to the folks at Steinberg who were kind enough to provide me with a copy for this demo series. However, this video is not sponsored in any way by Steinberg or Cubasis, so all the views and opinions expressed in this one are my own. It is $49.95 to purchase, $49.95 US if you were looking to get into Cubasis or your country's variant, and there are some in-app purchases that you can grab here in the store, such as the bundles that you're seeing on your screen right now. So we will be covering those in a future video, but we're talking about the basic Cubasis, the basic setup you can get for $49.95. Let's now jump in to the first section of this video. I don't know, we've been going a while, we've been going 4.5 minutes, but the first section here, which is 10 things I've been loving about Cubasis in no particular order. Let's dive in. So Cubasis, here is the setup. Here is what we've got going on. The first thing I'm going to talk about is something that I've been using when I've been doing mixing, and I'm finding it really super cool, and that is our channel strip plugin. So if we come here, I'll have to hopefully be able to find it here, okay? There it is. It's on our channel there by default. So the channel strip plugin, if you're not aware of a channel strip, here's what it looks like, and here's what it does. You can see we've got a filter on here. We've then got noise gate, and we've got all of our processing that we can do here, a compressor and a saturator here as well. So this just gives you a quick and easy access to a lot of the things you're going to commonly use on every track. And I've been enjoying having the channel strip here because it means instead of thinking about it and going, oh, do I need a filter on this one? I'm not sure. Do I need a compressor? Do I need to add a noise gate? I can just come in here and you can dial it directly in on the channel strip. So it gives you a bit of that feel for more of what a traditional mixer interface would actually be like by having your channel strip there. And like most things, I didn't include this as a feature, but I do love this. I should have. This is a bonus one. Bonus feature is that you can actually drag this up. So if you're finding, especially on your iPhone, because that's another feature I didn't mention, but Cubasis 3 is available for your iPhone and your iPad, but you can actually adjust the size of all your windows and you can drag up to give yourself more room in here. It makes life a heck of a lot easier when you're using some of these smaller controls like your compressor and your noise gate and your EQs and things that you have in here. So the channel strip, super useful and super handy here in Cubasis. While we're talking about this sort of thing, we'll go back to our mixer. You knew I was going to get to it sooner or later, probably sooner. It's this one. It's our master fader. So yes, we finally have a master fader, and I was finding this useful because I added all these tracks and then I had them all sort of turned up too loud, and I was like, oh no, I need to go back and adjust all of my tracks. And then I was thinking, actually, all I need to do is this. When you open your eyes up to the sky above, all I needed to do was to drop my master fader. So that's been really handy. I've been enjoying using a master fader. And even better than that is that we also have the ability to add effects. So if we tap on the effects button there, we've got master insert effects. So we can actually tap here and add an effect directly into our master bus, which is pretty cool. Any of the effects that we can use on any other track. Want some reverb on your master bus? Not quite sure it'd be a great idea, but you can add it and then you get yourself a lot of reverb. We'll turn that off because that will confuse me at a later stage. Let's come in. The third thing that I've been loving. So send effects on here. So we've been playing around. There's insert effects. So you can see over here on the left, we've got insert effects, which are the same sort of thing we have on all of our DAWs, but we also have this little sucker here, which is a send effect. So what we can do is we can add any effect that we like, and then we can set up the effect and then send a little bit of each channel to it. So reverb's the one you'd probably use. So we'll turn the reverb on there. And if we tap on the effect option, like that, we can dial in whatever reverb we want. So say we just dialed in a little bit of subtle reverb here, just like that. Then what you can do is actually control with this slider on each track. You can go to each individual track and decide if you want that send effect on and how much of it you want. So if we come in here, we won't have it on drums, but let's just put it on, say, this guitar. Well, that's the bass. I didn't name my tracks very well, as you can see here. We'll turn it off there, but we'll say, yep, we want reverb. We want quite a lot on the guitar. And then we want to come to our lead vocal, and we just want a little bit of reverb on our lead vocal. Then when we play back, when you open your eyes up to the sky. So that's really handy. I can see myself using that a lot, especially for reverbs and delays. I like to set up one reverb, one delay, and then have everything channeled through that. It's a good way to operate, and I've used that in previous DAWs. So there you go. That is tip number 3, or the third thing that I like is the send effects. The next thing here, and I'm still getting used to this, in all honesty, I'm still getting used to this, and that is our media browser. So if we tap in the top left here, we have this media browser here, which has our projects in here at the moment, but it's also got our audio files. Now, you can see here I've done virtually nothing with this because I don't actually have much in my audio files here. I've got a couple of tracks in here that I've brought in. But what I like here is that we have the ability to, yes, create folders. So let's say I wanted to download a sample pack. I haven't got one handy, but I can actually create a folder and then throw that in here, and then I can organize all of my samples, my loops, my instruments, anything that I want in here. You've got the power to do that. Now, this is something that when using GarageBand and some other apps, you don't have that level of freedom. Everything just gets dumped in, and you're spending a lot of time scrolling around finding things. So love the ability to come in here and organize your media files and have them all nice and laid out here. It took me a while to work out where everything was, but now that I've worked it out, I'm here and I'm enjoying it. Oh, there's even a trash folder there, which looks like it has versions of my previous projects. Haven't even played around with that, but that's pretty cool. So file management is number 4 of the things that I've been liking. Number 5 is the export options. So while we're talking files, exporting is something that I've been really liking. So when we come here and we go to our project, I showed this in a previous one, but if we want to, I've got to work out exactly where to go. I'm still moving around. Again, 1 week. I'm still finding my feet with a lot of this stuff. But if we share here, and we share, are we sharing the project? Yep, sharing the project. Look at what it does here. It's reducing the file size, it's zipping it up, and it's creating this zip archive. So if we save this out to my files, for instance, and we come here, we save to files, and again, I'll put it in GarageBand, and then we switch over to my files app, and we come into that location on my iPad GarageBand, just where we've saved it for convenience. So here is that project file. So if we want to share this, it's a zip file, which means it's going to be compatible with iOS, it's going to be compatible with iCloud Drive, Google Drive, Dropbox, anywhere we want to send it, it's now going to work. And if we want to open it at the other end, we just tap on it, take a look in here, there's our project file, and it includes all of the included WAV files, all the recorded audio files, and any MIDI information and anything else is right there. So it's inside that zip file. Now, some folks are saying in the chat that you can do a lot of this stuff in GarageBand and other DAWs. Yeah, you can. The reason I'm doing this video is to show you the difference and the workflow that might appeal to you. Because, spoiler alert, when I get to the verdict at the end of this video, it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all. This isn't a versus series. This isn't a shootout. I'm not going to say you now need to always do this and never do that. It is very much going to be, here's what this can do. If you're looking for this, this is what you want to use. Here's what this can do. If you're looking for this, this is what you want to use. And I think that's the case with most music production. So I just wanted to make that clear, something I should have said right up front. Let's have a look. What have we got next? So we've talked the top 5. We're halfway through our best features that I've been loving here about Cubasis. Now, while I haven't been using them because I've been liking the nice pink pastels that we have here, we do also have colors, which I've been enjoying the ability to do this. So I used to use colors a lot, and the more I use Cubasis, I'll probably start using colors more. So for things like this, where I want my vocals to all be a particular color, I can actually just come in here and I can change things up. So I want a green vocal. You can see how quick and easy it is to come in here and just change everything. This one is my guitar, I think. We'll solo it just to make sure. Yep, that's my guitar. So say I want my guitars to be red because they go faster. My bass here, I want that to be blue. And then my drums, I want to be yellow. So you can see that the quick and easy way to control your colors. And once I pick my colors again, it'll make life a lot easier, because now how much easier is this to see that that's definitely drums, that's bass, guitar, and all my vocals, especially when you don't name your tracks, as Pete hasn't done here. That's going to be something useful for you to do. So colors are number 6. What is number 7? Number 7 is the time stretching functions. So this is super cool. I've showed this in a previous video, but let's say we'll mute out our original drums that we imported here. Say we wanted to add in a drum loop, and I wanted to find a drum loop. Well, I can come in here, I can come to my audio files, and I want to bring in just a random drum loop that I've found online or that I've decided to bring in here. Let's see if there's one that's going to work with this one. What about a funky groove? We'll hit the autoplay. That's really not going to work with this track, but we're going to bring it in anyway, just for fun. So what we could do is we can grab this funky groove, we can drag it on in and add it as a new track. So we'll slot it in there. There it is. But the problem here is, look, it's definitely not lined up to our grid, right? But no problem here, because Cubasis has us covered, and this is something that I'm still loving every time I do it. If we tap on this stretch button, we can actually use the auto stretch, and that's going to put it right here onto our grid. So it's now made this drum loop a 2-bar drum loop. If we now play along with this, How cool is that? And if we wanted to say go half time on that, no problem. We can actually do the same thing. We can move this around. We can stretch it out. Got to get my stuff together here. We'll go the stretch button there. We can stretch it out so that it's actually going to go across 4 bars instead. I'm just trying to line things up. So I'm looking at lots of different screens here trying to get it to happening. So now if we play. When you open your eyes up to the sky above and you... Now, when you're doing time stretching, keep in mind it's not going to sound perfect. You are basically moving things around, especially when you're slowing down, you're adding in bits. There's no actual sample of the sound in a lot of these spaces. It's having to fill in the gap. So keep that in mind. But if we undo, getting used to my undo here too. I was originally, when I started using it, I was trying to find my undo up here on the transport control. It's actually just down here. So we'll undo, and there you go. And I actually think that kind of sounds... See, a bit of experimentation. That actually sounds pretty cool. And what we can then do is, of course, we can copy this one out and make it go across the rest of our track. Again, I'm still just finding, there's copy. I'm still just finding things. And I like this. We can just go paste, boom, 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 and it'll actually paste out right across that whole track, which is kind of cool. So we'll just not undo that last one. So now we've got our 8 bars again. And we've got that nice drums in there. So your time stretch, very handy, liking using that one, a very cool feature of Cubasis. Number 8, well, we've been using it throughout a lot of this, and it is this one here. It is the mixer. So having the ability to have a mixer. And again, we've got the ability to bring these faders all the way up. So if, like me, you like mixing with your ears and not necessarily with your eyes, you don't want to see your waveforms, you just want to mix with your ears. Because the deception here is that what you might do if you were just mixing with your eyes here is you might look at something like your bass track and you might go, oh, that's too loud, I'm going to turn it down. But it's not actually, like, sometimes the waveforms can be deceptive, yeah? Sometimes it's not exactly as it appears. So you want to be able to have the control here to just mix it. So if we come back to the start of the track, actually, that's not the start of the track. If we come back to the start of the track, we can actually play this. When you open your eyes up, and say these backing vocals are too loud, yeah? There is nothing that you can do but close your eyes again. And again, like, you can just hear the different tracks. Like, my doubled vocal there is a little bit too loud, so we can turn that back on down. Yeah, the only thing that I find it hard is I've got to find my transport control of where I'm at. I have to kind of unhide it and then come back. But when you open your eyes up to the sky above and you see, and of course again, there is nothing that you can do. Have your master track there as well. And of course you can go in and find your effects. Your insert effects are going to be right here on your track as well. So that just makes life a heck of a lot easier when you're trying to mix your tracks, or at least I've found so far. And you've even got controls here. You can make them small and narrow, or you can make them super big. So you've got access to view everything nicely, your panning controls, your mutings and solos, and everything that you want in there. So super cool, super fun to have a mixer here in Cubasis. I've found that one really useful. What is next? We're nearly at the end here. Number 9 is our drum pads. So if we come in here, let's just add... Oh, the one thing I must say is sometimes I have to just X out of everything and send everything back where it came from, because I get a little bit overwhelmed. There we go. Sometimes I get overwhelmed with everything that's on the screen and I get a little bit lost in it. So we've put everything back there. Let's add a new track. We'll come down the bottom here and hit add track. We're going to add a MIDI track. And there we go, down the bottom there. Where is it? Oh, let's put it in the right in the middle. That's one thing I haven't quite worked out, is it adds the track where you've got your cursor, so it's going to put it wherever. So let's just bring this track, drag it up to here, and we'll choose our instrument. And again, we've got our keyboard here, so we can play the keys there. We've also then got pads, which are fun for this sort of thing, but they're extra good for drums. So I've been finding that playing my drum sounds using these pads has been really cool. So, and I know GarageBand has its own drums and other things, but if we come in here, let's just grab this AM Rock Kit, then it's just a lot easier to play directly on the screen here. I'll use my fingers here because it's a bit hard to do it with that. So if we've got our kick there, . That's a funny crash. Always a good crash. This kit's got a bit of a wussy crash. That's right. So yeah, it's a really good interface for actually tapping. It makes you feel like you're using like an actual interface. It's got the little drum pads on there, and that sort of makes it more tactile and makes it easier to play. So I've been loving the fact that not only do we have the ability to use the keys, but we have these cool drum pads. And you can, of course, go back to the keyboard if you find that more useful, and use a MIDI keyboard as well. So I did show that in a previous video. Number 10, and this is a small one, but I know that a lot of folks have been talking about this when it comes to GarageBand. One of the biggest questions that I get about GarageBand is, how do I change it from knowing how many bars I've got here to how much time has elapsed? Well, guess what? You can't. However, here in Cubasis, not only do we have our bars here, but look at this little display in the corner. All we need to do is tap on that, and we know how far we are into our track. Now, for me, I haven't worked out, there's probably a setting here to tell it that these first 4 bars are a lead in, and this is actually 0 seconds, because you can see here, because I have that 4-bar lead in, this is saying that's 9 seconds in. But it's just handy to know at what time period you are on a track, not just the actual bar and the beat. Or of course, if you tap it again, you can go back to the bar and the beat, which is handy there. We can see exactly where we are in that bar by that display. So that is my 10th and final thing that I've been loving. But what about you? What have you been enjoying about Cubasis? What have you been enjoying about using it, if you're using it, or watching me use it if you've just been watching the video? I would love for you to let me know down in the description. Hello to some other folks who are here. We've got Valium. I hope you are doing well, my friend. Valium FM is here. Sion has made it here super late. Please report to the principal's office. Thank you. We've got Scott, who's late to the party as well. Hello to you, Scott. I've got some questions coming in here. We will get to those. If you're just joining us, the questions section will be right at the end, and we will cover off any Q&A stuff that you have at that point in time. Alrighty, let's continue on, because what I wanted to do here is for a little bit of contrast, and someone said in a comment just before this show that it's not fair to compare Cubasis 3, which is a $50 app, with GarageBand, which is a free app. And whilst I agree with that, I'm not actually comparing. I'm not saying that you use one or don't use the other. As I mentioned halfway through that one, this isn't going to be a versus series. I don't really like those. I don't think that you want Pete's opinion on you should only ever do one thing ever again. It's going to differ based on your experience, and what you want to get out of it. So that's what I wanted to put out there on Front Street before we do this. But I thought, just so that you know, if you are a GarageBand user, or if you're using other apps, you might be wondering, what is Pete actually missing about GarageBand? I haven't opened GarageBand in a week. What am I missing about it? And from using Cubasis for a week, what are some of the things that I would either like to see there, or that I am going to go back to GarageBand to use? So let's bring up. Here it is. And I must admit, the first thing I'll say is it's like putting on an old pair of tracksuit pants or sweatpants. So, you've been wearing a suit all day, and you come home, you take off the suit and tie, and you put on your old sweatshirt and your old tracksuit pants. It's that sort of feeling coming into GarageBand. So yeah, GarageBand is like a sweaty tracksuit. That's what I'm saying here. But it just feels like home. It feels like comfort. And that's because I've been using it for 5 years, and I've been using Cubasis for 1 week. So that's 100% to be expected. So what have I been missing about GarageBand? We'll move through this pretty quickly. The virtual instruments is one thing that I have been missing. Like I didn't think I would be missing these, but I'm absolutely 100% missing the virtual instruments. Things like the strings, the tactile feel you get of adding in a string with the string instrument. So if we came in here, the fact that I've just got this visualization. I've got the ability to control my virtual instruments here, just with a lot more of a visual interface. So I want to add the nice bass there. And because you can use your finger and move it up and down, it's something tactile. There's something nice and familiar about doing that. And of course, you've got your auto plays, so turn those on. So we've got all of the different ways that we can interact with our virtual instruments. So again, didn't think I'd miss them, but just for adding those little parts where you just want to feel it, yeah, I have surprisingly missed that. The other thing that I've been missing about GarageBand, we'll delete that track. See, look how easily I know how to do things. The other things I've been missing, the track presets. And again, I didn't think I'd miss this, but setting up a vocal, for instance, I come in here and I can go to more sounds, I can go to my vocals and guitar especially. I just throw the acoustic guitar nice room on here, and I know that it's already going to have a few of these things sort of set to about the level that I want them. Like I'll have to play around with it, but I know I've got a compressor on there, I know I've got a little track reverb on there, and I can just go and start recording and then tweak these as I go. So it's probably a pro and a con because it's getting me into the habit of just using the same thing every time. In Cubasis, I'm starting with a blank, fresh track, which I actually like for a lot of things. But especially if you're starting out, and this is going to be a bit of a theme, if you're starting out, you're going to get a better guitar sound without having to know anything about compressors or reverbs or delays or anything by just using these different plugins and different effects that are going to give you those presets. So number 2 is your instrument presets when you're setting up a new track. Number 3, yes, it's our drummer. Again, the things that I didn't think I'd miss, I'm missing. So drummer, it just having this level of control, not too much control though. The idea that you can just say, Graham, I just want you to play a bit loud and a bit complex, throw it on the hi-hat, hit your kick and snare, and then Graham just goes, sure, I'm going to play something like this. That just works so well for me, and then just being able to put your sections in there. So again, Apple, GarageBand, Logic, they've developed this auto drummer over many, many years, and they've refined it over time so that if you don't know much about the drums, you can still program in some pretty solid drums without a whole bunch of knowledge. So I do enjoy drummer, and I have been missing drummer. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I haven't actually worked out whether Cubasis does indeed have some song sections in there that I could be using, but I'd actually really like GarageBand's song section setup. That's a lot of S's for a guy with a bit of a lisp. The song section setup here is actually really useful because despite the fact that you can't name them, despite the fact that it's a little bit clunky here, you can see that you can actually add in different chunks, and then you can, if you want to rearrange your song, you can actually move things around with ease. So you can actually rearrange your song at the slide of a button, and you can see there that your sections actually move. Everything follows, everything is chopped up and put in the right sections that you have there. So I'm sure there is a way to do something similar in Cubasis. I just haven't found it. And I guess this is because GarageBand is more of like a sequence-based or a loop-based interface. Cubasis is more like an old sort of tape machine, like an old 4-track or 8-track that you're really just recording end to end. In this one, you're doing it more compartmentalized. So that may be the reason for that. But have been missing my song sections and do need to work out how I can change the way I do things in Cubasis. Number 5, the iCloud drive. As much as I love the files options in Cubasis, I do like the fact that GarageBand is made by Apple and it's fully integrated into your iCloud drive. That also comes with its own set of frustrations. I'll be completely honest about that. But the handy thing is that every time we save out of here, it's here in my iCloud drive. It's going to back it up. All of these files, and again, despite the fact that it does all these weird things where it says, oh, you've opened it on another one, it's doing that to protect me. It's keeping these versions here on iCloud Drive, and I know that if this iPad here goes for a swim or completely bricks, like my iPhone 7 recently has, it does not turn on, then everything's saved in the cloud automatically, and I find that super useful and handy to do that. So again, a lot of the features of GarageBand help you if perhaps you are newer to music, if perhaps you need a little bit of that. Now, I say hand holding. That's not meaning like you're a child, you need someone to hold your hand, but it does guide you. That's probably what I'll say. It's a guided interface and a guided experience as opposed to Cubasis that kind of throws you out there with a blank canvas and says, you create art, which has its place, and I really do like that style as well. But again, it's horses for courses. It's what's going to work for you. What else do we have? I mentioned it right up front, but the simple interface. So the ability to just have a simple interface like this, I really enjoy. There's just something about opening this interface up and being able to put everything away there, and it's just clean. Something about the yellow and the green and the blue on the black background with your icons of your instruments right here in nice bold colors. You slide this out, you've got all of your tracks there, all the simple controls here. Even when you go in here, this is not super daunting. Everything sort of is laid out in a logical way and easy to access with big bold buttons. And the design of GarageBand has actually improved and been something that I actually really enjoy. So yeah, the simple design, the layout of GarageBand, I really like. That being said, it comes with its limitations. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can't do. No vertical faders, no master bus, no send effects, no automation of anything but volume. So those are things that you do have to keep in mind. Once again, horses for courses. Let's take a look. The next one we have here. I've been missing my Apple loops. I got to tell you, having the vast array of Apple loops in here is so much fun. When you are just trying to find a bit of a sound or a bit of a vibe here, I must admit, I didn't think I'd use loops as much as I do, but check out the amount. We're here in A. That's all the A's that we have in our Apple loops. So Apple has built up over time this massive range of free loops, and you can actually come in here and you're like, oh, I want some big maracas. All right, let's just throw some big maracas on here. And there you go. And it comes in here, it auto loops it. Again, it's guided. It's a guided experience. So now we can play this and kind of like that maraca sound. What do you reckon? That might stay, something like that on this track. So yeah, having the ability to just bring in your Apple loops at a moment's notice. And again, Cubasis, like I said, has that better management of your loops. You can bring in your own sounds, you can buy other sample packs, and it's much easier to keep things organized and in order. But if you just want a bunch of free sounds to experiment and play with, guess what? GarageBand has them in spades. Righty dokie. Let's check out the next one here, which is okay. This one doesn't require any demonstration. I'm just going to fold my arms here and say it's free. And it's free for everyone all the time, apart from me, who paid $7.99 for it. And I think Jade Star and a few others might be in the same thing. So yeah, it is free to use it for anyone. If you have any iPhone or iPad or iPod Touch, you've got GarageBand. You can download it for free and use it for free and use all of the sounds included in it for free. That's another question I get asked a lot. Everything is free. If you want to produce a song, you can sell 1 million copies of it and keep every bit of royalty. Apple's never going to come knocking and say, hey, didn't you use an Apple loop or a live loop or one of our instruments in your song? And I'll say, it doesn't matter, Apple, could you let me? So yeah, having the ability to have it completely free and not even have to give it a second thought, no in-app purchases, no add-ons, nothing to worry about with royalties. It just makes life very easy and simple. If you're starting out and creating and you don't want any of those hassles and have to worry about anything like that, GarageBand for free. It's got to be mentioned. Alrighty, we'll continue. The number 9 thing here is the community. So the GarageBand community is pretty darn awesome. I'm a member of a group called the GarageBand Users Facebook group. It is very, very cool. And there's a lot of people that are creating a lot of good things in GarageBand and sharing it. So the amount of knowledge that is shared, the amount of support that's available on that group and other forums around on Reddit and on Facebook and here on this channel is just phenomenal. Now, I haven't delved into the Cubasis community, so full disclosure, full fairness, there may be also some really good communities on Cubasis out there, but I just happen to know that the GarageBand communities are awesome, and there's a heap of folks that are out there that can help you with everything you need. And the last one, and I guess I'm kind of stretching here a little bit, but it's the accessibility, and it's kind of covered in the free, but it's accessible to everyone. Anyone can use this. I can hand this to my 8-year-old and she can create a pretty cool song using loops and virtual instruments and autoplay. So it does have that lower barrier to entry. It means that you can start creating without a whole lot of knowledge of what you're doing. If you grab Cubasis, you need a little bit of a working knowledge of how to use a digital audio workstation. So that would be my final thing here, is that the accessibility you have, and speaking of accessibility, I know from my vision impaired friends, they've told me that GarageBand is actually pretty darn good for accessibility for vision impaired folks as well. So that's another thing to keep in mind there. So there you go. That is my 10 and 10, the 10 things that I like about Cubasis that I've been really enjoying, and then 10 things that perhaps I've been missing about using GarageBand. If you're on the fence, The next section we'll be jumping into is my verdict and kind of my closing thoughts. But that won't be the end of the video, because then if you do have some questions and you want to ask those, you can stick around. We'll have a Q&A section to cover off anything I may have missed or any questions you have at the end. So let's recap here. GarageBand is made by Apple. It's a free DAW. It's able to be used on your iPhone or your iPad. Cubasis 3 by Steinberg is a $49.99. It's a $50 US DAW made by Steinberg, available on your iPhone or your iPad. So yes, the instant difference is free, $50. What do you get for your $50? Well, that's what we went through in all of those sections. All the things I've been liking, as well as the automation of other tracks. You got your channel strip, your master fader, your send effects, better management of your audio files. You've got those instant export options that I like. You've got colors, you've got time stretching, you've got a mixer in there, vertical mixers to actually mix your tracks. You've got the drum pads, you've got your time display. They're the things I like. GarageBand, you got your virtual instruments, you got your presets on your tracks, drummer, song sections, iCloud Drive integration. It's a guided experience, is the way that I'll say. Simple interface, all those free Apple loops to use. It's a free platform to use, great community around it, and it's accessible to everyone. So which should you choose? Whichever you want. I did say this. I knew there was never going to be a conclusion at the end of this one, because I'm going to go on and check out more apps and more digital audio workstations, because whatever works for your workflow. So what I would say is, if you've seen some of these features and you're like, yeah, I definitely need some complex time signatures. I want to do a whole bunch of things on my master fader. I want to be able to master directly right there in the track. I want to be able to use a lot of those other features that Pete talked about. A master fader sounds like a great idea. I want those export options and those colors to sort of help me out. They're the sort of things that you're going to want. Then Cubasis could definitely be for you. I've had an absolute blast using it for the last week. Once again, whilst this video is not sponsored, shout out to the folks at Steinberg. Not only did they provide me with the copy of Cubasis, but they've answered any questions I've had along the way, and they've been super supportive folks. So thank you to them. The final section that we have here is a Q&A. So I have noticed there's been a few questions that have already popped in. I'm going to scroll back on up, and then let me know. Let me know if you've got any questions. I'll come back down here to the bottom. Tom Rochelle says, I'd pay for it again if I had to. Probably GarageBand you're talking about. Yeah, I'd definitely pay $7.99. I think they could absolutely charge for GarageBand. Stu Cash says, I'm only 4 months into GB, so I'll stick. Yeah, and that's probably a really good point, is that if you are starting out and you are using GarageBand and you've only just scratched the surface of what GarageBand can do, I probably wouldn't move straight away. I think this is more for folks that if you've been using GarageBand for a year, 2 years, you've found your feet and you're starting to feel those little twangs of frustration at some of the things you can't do, then that's where I think Cubasis might be an option for you. If you're still learning, I honestly think that GarageBand is a great learning platform. It's a great platform. And when I say learning platform, that sounds a little bit like I'm talking down, but you can still produce. That's the thing. People said, what sounds better? And here's the thing. What sounds better is whatever the gear you're using and what you're recording in there. Because again, ones and zeros, these are all digital interfaces. They're all using pretty similar engines to record in those ones and zeros. So if I've plugged my Steinberg UR22C into Cubasis or into GarageBand, the only difference is that Cubasis has 48 kilohertz sample rate that you can add up to, but the difference between 48 kilohertz and 44.1 kilohertz is virtually nothing. It's not even hearable. So the actual sound quality you're going to get, no one's going to know. And no one's going to listen to your music and go, oh, I bet this was produced in GarageBand, not in Cubasis or Audio Pro or whatever. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind as well. A couple of questions that have popped in here. Thank you to Greg, by the way. I think you had a question, Greg. I'll go and find your question in a minute, or maybe throw it back again. But thank you for the support here on the show. Appreciate you, my friend. Excuse me. We've got Tom and Valium have been talking about getting their ideas down. So Valium says, same here, Tom. I managed to get ideas down so quickly with GB. That was when I first switched to Mac. Yeah, so GarageBand on Mac or iOS, they both are great sketch pads, even if you use something else down the track. Question here from Sion is, will you use an Apple Pencil with GarageBand and Cubasis? It makes the experience so much better. Yeah, so I use a mouse, as you've probably seen in this video. I do use a mouse quite a bit. Where's my share? I do use a mouse quite a bit, so that does make it a little bit easier to move things around and to tap and to click and to do things. I haven't got the Apple Pencil yet because it costs an awful lot. I do also have it's under here somewhere. I have a little stylus that I use if I want to, if my fingers get sore from tapping and dragging a lot. So yeah, I can see the benefit, especially in Cubasis, especially with some of the smaller things that we need to tap on in Cubasis. Over here, I can see that having the ability to have your pencil would be much better for doing like little fine adjustments here on here and tapping on these smaller buttons. I can see that that's going to come in super handy. But I haven't got one yet. Yeah, not sure if I'll go down that road, but we'll see. You never know your luck. I do want the keyboard, the Magic Keyboard, but again, can't justify $450. And I think the Apple Pencil might be around $200 as well. Again, where do you draw the line when you're buying these things? There's so many things that you can buy and upgrade to. So we shall see. Question here from David Asher. Does Cubasis MIDI controller for the fade does support MIDI controller for the faders and knobs? That was for Jade, like transport controller or something. That is a good question. Now, because I've done a scratch the surface kind of 7-day sort of power speed check of this, I haven't gone into the detail of all of those things. So that's something I'm not sure is like control surface support, knobs and fader support for MIDI controllers that have them. GarageBand doesn't support those things, but I haven't actually got into the weeds and worked out. Because I only use an M Audio key station, I don't actually use anything like the Akai MPK or anything like that. I don't actually know. So if someone else has the answer to that, please drop it here in the chat. Otherwise, I'll reach out to my friends at Steinberg and ask them. But I've got a feeling that someone here will know the answer to that one for you, David, and will be able to help you out. We'll see if we've got any other questions here. We've got a question from Solrack. Says, does Cubasis 3 have audio waves quantized like GarageBand on Mac? That's a good question. I haven't found it. I haven't found the ability to quantize an audio track. But that being said, I haven't looked into it in a lot of detail. So, yeah, it doesn't. Does it seem to have? It seems to give you the ability to tap the quantize button as I'm just playing around here, but I don't think it's actually doing anything to the actual track. So I don't think so. But again, because I'm new, then yeah, I'm not 100% sure. So sorry. I know it sounds like you're going to ask questions, and my answer is going to be, I don't know. I'm a newbie. I don't know. But that's cool. If anyone's watching this, then your job as a Cubasis 3 guru is to throw the answers to any of these down in the comments afterwards, and then that will help other folks out as well. Cubasis doesn't have MIDI learn or any of that I could find. Mostly CC signals are useful in laptop DAWs, unfortunately. Yeah, so I think you're right, Greg. I don't think that it has the ability to do that, but yeah, I could be totally wrong. And because Steinberg don't really make any of that sort of hardware, I don't think it's even supported out of the box. So we will see if we get any other folks who can chime in on that. But thank you for your feedback there. The Jam Space says, are you excited to keep learning Cubasis 3, or does GB suit your needs and this was just a fun experience for you? What a great question. And it's probably a question that I'm still asking myself. Spoiler alert, tomorrow we're moving into Auria Pro. So the fine folks at Auria Pro have provided me with a copy of that DAW, and we will be switching hats again, and we'll be jumping into Auria Pro. So I'll be trying that out. But I'm almost positive that I'll be coming back to Cubasis 3 for a few reasons. I still haven't even tried out all of the different packs, so I'm very keen to try out these packs that we have here. So the Waves plugin bundle, or the Waves audio track and Waves L1, all these things, the micro log ARP. So there is an arpeggiator there, but it is an add-on, so I do want to check that out. And then all of the FX packs here. So I haven't even explored those, and clearly I've only just scratched the surface, and I've already had folks ask and say, are you going to come back and do Cubasis tutorials like your GarageBand tutorials once you actually know what you're doing? And I'm like, you saying I don't know what I'm doing? And I'm like, yes, I know, I don't. I did this series this way around because I thought it would be interesting for folks to see someone just starting out. I think that the problem was, if I just spent a week doing this and then started making tutorials, I would have forgotten what I didn't know at the start. Does that make sense? So I think learning it as I go and teaching it and documenting my experience has hopefully been useful to you because it means that you've been able to see what I haven't known. So that issue with my undo button, when I actually mentioned that to the Cubasis development team, they're like, "Oh, that's good stuff to know for our user interface. It's good stuff to know that people coming from GarageBand are looking up here and they're not looking down here." And the other thing was that the snap to grid here, this is for actual items only, and apparently there's a separate snap to grid setting up in the setup somewhere that I need to play around with to actually get to the right spot. So yeah, things like that I'm going to explore more of. So short answer to you, my friend, is yes. This won't be the last time that I'm hearing Cubasis 3. I actually really enjoyed it. And I think when I'm doing more complex projects, so for my sort of music, it's not a big deal. GarageBand kind of cuts it. But when I'm doing more complex projects, so as I do more mixing and mastering and editing and recording for other folks, if they're wanting like more complex time signatures, they're wanting to bring in and stretch. So in yesterday's video, I talked about audio stretch and being able to stretch out different backing tracks using Cubasis. If I threw a backing track in here and it didn't line up on the grid, I'd just be able to adjust it and make it line up. That sort of stuff I think would be convenient for me if I'm, say, recording someone who's doing vocals over a backing track, things like that. So, yes, I'll be back. Alrighty. Uh, so Scott says, from what I've seen, the best way to map or learn MIDI control is AUM, then into Interapp Audio, into Cubasis or GarageBand. Yeah. So, and again, AUM and Audio Bus are things that I haven't used that I plan to use in the future. So, as part of this August Out of My Comfort Zone series, that'll probably be something I explore. I've already got Audio Bus, I think. I need to get myself a copy of AUM to start testing that out. Question from Tom Richel says, have you tried out the track groups yet? That was a new feature of Cubasis 3 I don't have in Cubasis 2. I haven't. Because I haven't really done a heap of recording, I haven't quite got around to checking it out, and I could try and do it on the fly here. So what you can do is track groups. Is say I had my two lead vocals here, and then I had these two backing vocals, and I wanted to control the two backing vocals together with a track group. You can set up a group there, and then you can have like one fader, one slider, one set of effects that affects all of the tracks under your track group. So like a track folder that you have in Reaper, it's called different things in different platforms. So I didn't play around with it here. I can see myself using that, especially for drums. Drums are one that back in my Reaper days, I used track folders and track groups for a lot. So yeah, I haven't played around with it. If you're on Cubasis 2 and you're going to go to 3, would that be the feature I do it for? Maybe not. But yeah, hopefully, and I know the other thing I've got asked from people is why don't you compare Cubasis 2 to Cubasis 3? Because I've never used Cubasis 2 and I probably have no plans to go back and check out Cubasis 2. Most of the things you can do in Cubasis 2 in 3, but there's obviously been some enhancements. And the other question is, are you going to check out the Cubasis LE version, which comes with interfaces, which is a bit weird because I own 4 different Steinberg interfaces, a UR12, UR22C, UR44, maybe I only own 3. Anyway, I own lots of Steinberg stuff, and I've never actually downloaded Cubasis LE, so go figure. Probably because I thought, well, it's probably going to do about what GarageBand does, so I never kind of bothered, and when I wanted to check it out, I wanted to go the full kit and caboodle. But thank you for your question, Tom. It's a good one. And yeah, I probably need to check and check out the complete feature list of Cubasis 2 versus 3. I'll probably set up a bit of a landing page for each of these, like I have for GarageBand over at studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand. I'll probably set up a studiolivetoday.com/Cubasis just as a bit of a dumping ground for links to these videos, for a bit of a Q&A, and for some of that basic info set up over there. Question from Sion. How long did it take you to make the tutorials? I'm trying to get a tutorial workflow, but I want to set a realistic time for them. Yeah, so the tutorials, like to be very honest, the reason I do live shows sometimes is when I'm short on time. So this live show took me about 1 hour of preparation last night to get all the list of 10 together, to get the thumbnail, to set it up in StreamYard, and then it took me like no time to prepare today. I hit record and went, and then there'll be no follow-up time. So it's a 2-hour process. To a 1 hour live stream is a 2-hour process for me. To record a 10-minute tutorial is about a 4-hour process. So that gives you a bit of an idea. So I do most things in one day. So when I start recording a tutorial, what I'll do is I'll get a framework for what I want to cover. I'll then sit down and record the audio, the video, and the screen capture at the same time. I'll throw all of those into LumaFusion on my iPhone. I'll edit those down. That all takes about an hour of editing for about a 10-minute video. I'll then upload it to YouTube while I'm doing things like my tags, my descriptions, my thumbnail. And then once it's uploaded, I'll add in the thumbnail, the tags, the descriptions, everything else. I'll then release it and then do the social media promotion side. So yeah, around about 4 hours for 10 minutes, which seems like a lot, doesn't it? That seems like a lot of work. So you got 10 minutes of content and it's taking you 4 hours total to do it. But it used to take 8. So don't stress out that this is not going to work for you. The more you do it, it's like a muscle memory now. The more you do things like this, same with music, same with video production. The more you do these things, the quicker they get. So keep at it, my friend, and you will get slick and fast and have everything going on. Acer BT says, I'm on the fence about buying this because I don't know how accessible it is and I don't want to waste $50. Yeah, it's a really good question. And hit me up on email, Acer. And because as I said, I've been in touch with the folks at Steinberg. So let me ask them for you because I have had that question from other folks. So let me ask the folks at Steinberg about accessibility and voiceover support. They might have a better answer that I'm going to be able to give you right now. So do that. Rightio. Let's see. We've got any other final questions here? Please drop them in the chat if you do have any questions. Strachev says, I may have missed this, but how do the virtual instruments compare in Cubasis to GarageBand? That's actually a really good question. So, and I didn't really cover this in any level of detail, and I probably won't. But I think GarageBand definitely has more instruments. The quality of the instruments is probably questionable. So Cubasis has. We'll have a quick look here. We've got a bit of time, don't we? We've got about 8 minutes to go. We'll have a quick look here at some of the instruments that we have, at least in the Microsonic, the included instrument pack that we have here. So you've got your usual things. You've got your usual keyboards and your pianos and your e-pianos, clavinets, all the rest of the sort of thing. I'm not sure what the tape here. Tape brass. I don't know what the prefix tape is on there, but you got some brass, some flutes. And again, they're the synthesized kind of sounds, but you do have some different things. So a lot of folks ask me in GarageBand, how do you get an accordion? Well, Cubasis has an accordion. So that's kind of cool. A bunch of different organ sounds that we have in there. Again, a bunch of string sounds here. We've got different pads and different effects and different lead sounds that we have here. The guitars are about the same as the GarageBand ones. 90s MIDI guitars that kind of haven't been updated. I got pretty excited. We've got a steel guitar here though. We've got a banjo. We've got a ukulele. And we've got even a sitar. So there's a lot of cool things in here to play with. It's probably just because it's different that I'm actually liking it. A bit of a slap bass here. Probably need to go down for the bass, don't you? So yeah, they're definitely not super high quality sampled instruments. They're definitely synthesized instruments, but there's definitely a different range and you got different stuff in here to play with apart from what you have in GarageBand. So what I'm probably going to find is I'll come over to Cubasis when I want a particular sound that I know that they have over here. If it's not a super important part of the actual sound, I'll be able to come here. It's tubular bells. Weird. And then, of course, you've got all your drum kits at the bottom there. So, yeah, there is quite a bit of a range there. The quality of them, yeah, well, it varies. I mean, GarageBand actually has a really good quality piano. The classical grand piano is really nicely sampled actual grand piano. The string sounds are pretty good in GarageBand. Even some of the horns and the other instruments are pretty good. If you really want actual sampled sounds, though, you probably need to delve into something like iSymphonic, or if you want a sax sound, Central Sax, like more of the standalone kind of apps to get yourself some real sounds. But if you just want a bit of variety to do some different playing around and different sounds, yeah, that's the way it goes. I like this from David. It says Cubasis 3 is going on sale tomorrow because I'm going to buy it tonight. Yeah, it's the exact same thing. Like, when do you buy an iPhone? Well, because you're always like, oh, if I buy the iPhone, the new one's going to be announced the very next day. Well, yeah, but you've got use out of the one you've got. So, yeah, I hear you. I've done the same thing. Things tend to go on sale just after I buy them too. But, yeah, maybe go with it. Here we go. The tape instruments are mellotron samples, which played sounds recorded on tapes. There you go. That makes sense. So mellotron with the tape playback recorder thing. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Tape probably means mellotron. Yep. Sorry. Everyone has given me great stuff there. Excellent stuff. Will I ever try? Will I ever try the app version of FL Studio? Probably in the future. I'm really not sure. I haven't delved into it. We're definitely doing Auria Pro. I've had requests. What I might do is put it to a vote. So Auria Pro is going to be the next week. That'll take us up to the 18th of August, and then I'll have 2 weeks sort of at the end there to do little mini sample reviews. So I'm doing a whole week with Cubasis 3, which I've just done, a whole week with Auria Pro, which I'm about to do, and then we'll be doing probably one or two sessions with different things, Beatmaker 3, Core Gadget, a few other things, well, depending what I can get hold of, because I'm buying some of these, but some, as I said, like Cubasis and Auria, they're providing for me. And in fact, one that I do want to check out, it's not really a DAW, but it has a lot of good things, is a good segue that Jade Starr, in 5 minutes' time, in her How to App on iOS series, is checking out Thumb Jam. So definitely jump over to Jade's channel and stay tuned for that one, because that'll be coming up really soon, right here on YouTube. So Jade will be looking at Thumb Jam, and I have Thumb Jam. I've just never actually used Thumb Jam, so I need to actually at some stage try Thumb Jam for myself. Do I have it installed on this particular iPad? No. No, I don't have it on there. But I have definitely downloaded it before. I'm just trying to see if I can find it here. Look for Thumb Jam, because apparently it has some really cool sounds, and a lot of folks have recommended it to me over the years to actually check out. This is it over here. This is what it looks like. Thumb Jam. But yeah, I sort of got a bit sidetracked there by shiny things. But what I was saying is, what I might do is put it to a vote. So maybe in that last week of August, or in the sort of last 2 weeks, we'll do a vote, and that'd be kind of fun if we sort of put 3 or 5 different apps on there, and I'll say, which one do we check out? And we put it to a vote and see what people decide on. Couple of final questions here. So Solrak. So we had a question here from Asa. So Solrak said, can you let people know that CBE3 is not compatible with VoiceOver? There you go. So there was the answer for your Asa. That doesn't look like it has support for VoiceOver. So perhaps not going to be the best option for visually impaired folks. So keep that in mind. Righty dokie. And Sion has given a tip here, which is if you get Cubasis 3 via the LE version, you get a small discount. That said, you need to have a Steinberg or Yamaha interface to activate the app. Well, there you go. If you get a Steinberg interface, which I highly recommend because I love them, you go to studiolivetoday.com/gear. If you are in the market for buying an audio interface anyway, that might be a good way to go, because the Steinberg UR12, UR22C, UR44, they've got some great all class compliant, all dual power mode, meaning that you can plug them and power them by a portable battery. They really are good. I've been raving, even before I started using Cubasis and found out that the Steinberg folks are really good people, I've been raving about their hardware, because I've been using a Steinberg interface since I very first started using GarageBand. My UR12 is about 4 years old. It's actually, I'll be selling it soon, by the way. There's a tip. Anyone, particularly in Australia, I probably won't be able to ship it outside of Australia. But if you're in Australia and you're looking for an audio interface, hit me up on email, because I might be able to do you a good deal on a slightly scratched and well-loved Steinberg UR12 interface. Righty dokie. I think we've covered everything. Once again, thank you everyone for being here. If you do have a question that I didn't get to, or that we didn't cover here on the show live, you know what to do. You can jump down into the comments section. I'm always down there, as are other members of the Studio Live Today community. So please jump down there, ask your question, leave your comment. Remember, my question is that I want you to comment on. Even if you were here live, jump back into this video afterwards and add your comment. What is the best feature that you've seen in the last week of Cubasis 3? Or if you're a Cubasis 3 user, what is your favorite feature? What is its killer feature of this app? I would love to get your feedback on that and let me know. Once again, if you want to find out more information about me, about the channel, about what goes on around here, head over to studiolivetoday.com. That's my home here on the interwebs, where you can find ways to support me on Patreon, to donate to the channel, use the gear guide, watch all the videos, do all the things over there. Thanks, folks. I hope you had some fun on this one, and I'm going to catch you again real soon, because we're about to kick in and check out Aurea Pro, watch out for the first video of that series on the channel right here tomorrow. Thanks, folks. I'll catch you soon. Bye.